Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Can't Stop Talking podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode because we are going to be talking about something different, and that is how I lost 20 pounds. This is going to be how I manifested it, but also the practical action steps I took. And I wanted to talk about this today because I named the podcast Can't Stop Talking for a reason so that I didn't only have to talk about business. I also wanted to talk about things and topics that intrigued me. However, this will go into business in a sense because my weight loss really, really changed the way that I saw my life and actually ran my business as well. So let's get into it. I'm so excited for this juicy freaking podcast. So before I lost 20 pounds, I always was that yo-yo dieter. I tried everything under the sun. I was constantly on a diet. I've tried keto, whole 30, low carb, military diet. That's the one where you have like a piece of toast and an egg. I've tried everything, seriously. Like you name it, I bet I've tried it. And I was just that person that was constantly on a diet, intermittent fasting, like literally I was just trying to find the next best thing. I was constantly chasing this idea of like I will find that diet and once I do, I will lose the weight and I will keep it off. However, if you've been like I am, you know that, you start a new diet, it's going well, and then your mindset F's it up and you're back to square one and it's just not sustainable and you gain all of the weight back. And so I was constantly in this loop for, you know, over 23 years of my life. Like, I mean, that's a lie because I wasn't dieting as a baby, but I probably started dieting like in middle school or high school. And so I had been dieting at that point for like 10 years. And I went to Penn State University, which that was another problem because I was in Greek Lake there and they had a really bad, mindset around dieting and being skinny and all this stuff. And so basically, at one point, I just was like, this needs to change. I was using so much mental capacity that I was always thinking about like, how many calories does this have in this? At one point I was tracking macros and I was like constantly thinking like, what should I be eating? What should I eat next? What's healthy? Like, oh, I messed up. I can't eat that. It has too many calories, too much fat, too much this. Like just so much willpower in my brain was constantly going, thinking about what I was going to eat next. And looking back, it is so sad, but I'm just so happy that I got to the place I am today. And so if this podcast helps anyone, like that is enough for me. Like this is why I wanted to talk about it. So basically what happened is when the pandemic hit, I had had enough. And at that point, I was like, all right, this is my chance to really figure this out. Like figure out my lifestyle, figure out my eating and, my relationship to food once and for all. And I also was chronic person who like worked out a lot. I worked out really hard 5 times a week. I went to cycling classes, I went to HIIT classes. Like I was getting up at 5:30 and working out and not missing workouts. And I would feel really bad when I missed workouts or I ate unhealthy. And so it was just this vicious cycle. And I remember when the pandemic hit, I was like, I need to sort this out. Like, this is finally time. I need to figure out, like, I can't live like this any longer. And I remember I sat there one night and I was just manifested. I was like, universe, like, there needs to be a new way, like a different way. I was like, please bring me a new way of, getting to the healthiest version of myself, a way that didn't take up my mental capacity. And I just remember listing out all the things that I wanted. I wanted a diet that fit my lifestyle, that didn't feel like I was dieting, a way to, stop thinking about food constantly and to just be able to live my life and be happy and for it to be really easy. And so what happened is I started doing affirmations. So that was huge. I started looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I love my body, right? Because previously I hated my body. And so I would say things like, I love the way I look. Even if I didn't believe it, I would look at myself and I'd be like, I love my boobs. I love my butt. Like, I love my flat stomach, or I just love my stomach. I love, my face. I love the way my body looks, the way that it operates, the things that it does for me, that I can walk, that I can run, that I can exercise. And I remember just constantly every day staring at myself naked in the mirror, saying these things. And I want to preface this with, I did not believe it. Like, there was no part of me that was like, yeah, I believe this, right? It took repetition. I was thinking this way for 20 something years. I wasn't just overnight going to start loving my body. So I remember the first thing I did was I decided to rewire my brain using affirmations and to start loving myself. Because what I realized is sometimes those diets would work. Like when I would diet, it would work, but I never actually loved my body. And so what I realized was I was conditioned, no matter what weight I was at, that I was never going to be happy. And so instead of first, I knew if I then again found this perfect diet for me and I did lose the weight, I still wouldn't be happy unless I rewired my brain to believe that I loved myself regardless. And so it started with affirmations. And the craziest thing is, like I said, I didn't believe them at first, but as time went on, I started believing the affirmations more and more. And I was like, huh, I do love this about my body. I do love my arms. I do love my boobs. I do love my butt. Like, it just started working and it was crazy. And the next thing that happened is, I love YouTube. I'm like a YouTube girl. I'm obsessed with YouTube. I found this video about intuitive eating. And basically it was the concept that your body knows exactly what it needs. And it was also the concept of like you can trust yourself and be mindful, and you can allow yourself to have all the things that you tell yourself you can't have. So for example, it's the same concept of like if you give yourself a cookie and you say you can have as many cookies as you want, you're probably not going to eat more than, 3 cookies. However, if you tell yourself this is the only cookie you can have, you're going to eventually binge when you allow yourself to have more cookies and end up eating 10. And so I found this YouTube video of this girl who started intuitive eating and she lost so much weight because she finally just let herself eat all the things that she's always wanted to eat, but she was mindful of it. And the book does such a better job. But from that YouTube video, I found that there was a book on intuitive eating. And so it was the pandemic. I was furloughed. I had so much time. And so I ended up buying the book off of Amazon, and I read it. And that was totally manifested, inspired action, because the book just fell into my lap, honestly. Like it was just one of those things that I was like, this feels right. And so I read the book and I really learned how to allow myself to eat whatever I wanted. Previously, I was asking myself every morning, I would wake up and be like, what's the healthiest option? Instead of saying, what do I want to eat today? Am I full? Am I hungry? Am I starving? Right? Do I need more food? Do I only need a little bit of food? And so during COVID, I just started asking myself questions. What do I want to eat? Right. And as I was eating, I was saying, am I satisfied? Do I need more food? And then I was allowing myself, if maybe I ate something and an hour later I wanted something else, I let myself eat it. And I realized too, what I was doing is before, when I was trying to be ultra healthy and I was saying, oh my gosh, I need a snack, I would make myself eat the healthiest things. So say it was like Greek yogurt with granola on top and fruit. I would tell myself like, you have to eat that instead of a piece of chocolate. Looking back, if I just let myself eat the piece of chocolate was like 50 calories, even though I don't count calories anymore. And the yogurt parfait was probably 300. And so once I started listening to my body intuitively and asking myself what I wanted to eat, ask myself if I was full, ask myself if I needed more, and just ask myself all these questions, I realized that my body knew the answer. And I started doing this with workouts too. Instead of waking up and being like, I have to, you know, go to this hard workout class, I would ask myself, what do I want to do today? And half the time I actually just wanted to walk. And then sometimes I did wake up and I was like, I want to do a workout class because I like the endorphins and stuff like that. But started doing less workout classes because I told myself, do what you want to do. And I started walking more. And as a woman, that also helps with your hormones are different than men. And I don't know the science, but basically, you know, it helps your body not spike and yada yada. I'm not a scientist, you guys know. You can look it up. But what happened is the weight just started falling off of me. And it started falling off of me in the easiest way possible. It took time, but what I realized is I wasn't starting and stopping a diet anymore. I was being consistent in all areas. I was being consistent with my eating, and I wasn't overeating because I was allowing myself to have everything I wanted. And so there was no restriction. There was no Sunday night binging and eating back everything because I was allowed to eat anything when I wanted, wherever I wanted. And because of that, I wanted less. When you're allowed to have something, you want less. It's the same thing as forbidden fruit. Think of when you break up with someone or you have like that toxic ex and you just want to be with them so bad. Why? Because you can't be with them. And so that's another tip. I always tell my friends with breakups, when you're going through a breakup, don't tell yourself it's all or nothing. Tell yourself maybe in the future you'll get back with this person. Likely you won't, but at least your mind will be tricked into thinking it's okay. One day maybe I'll get back with this person, and then you won't want them as bad. It's a really good trick. But what I realized is I finally was eating like a normal person. I was allowing myself, this was huge. I never allowed myself to bring takeout back. Like if I was at a restaurant and I didn't finish my plate, I would never bring home leftovers ever. Because I was like, I have to finish the hamburger tonight. I can't eat it the next day. Instead, what happened is I stopped eating it when I got full, and that would be around half the hamburger. And then I told myself I can eat the rest tomorrow. And so I would take home the rest and I would eat the rest tomorrow. Instead of eating the whole hamburger in one sitting, I eat it in 2 sittings, and I didn't gain weight because it was the perfect portion, and I felt great about it. And then the other thing that happened is my mental capacity changed. I didn't think about food constantly, right? Because I knew when I wanted food, I would allow myself to happen, so I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think about what was healthy, what was not healthy, what would help me lose weight, because I was just losing weight naturally. And my whole world changed. And what I realized from that, to bring it back to business, is my whole life I was doing the hardest ways to lose weight. I was doing every diet. I was working out really hard 5 times a week, and nothing was working. And society tells you that you have to work harder in order to hit your goals, in order to make money, in order to lose weight. And what I found from this whole process is I did the easiest thing for me. I was eating whatever I want and walking and intuitively, running my life, intuitively eating, intuitively doing my workouts. And I realized that from being mindful, my body knew exactly what to do. And because of that, I was able to rewire my brain to realize how I run my business is it's not if something feels hard, if you work the hardest, you make more money, right? It's you can actually do the easiest, most aligned action for yourself, and that's going to bring in the most money. I always say building my business was the easiest thing ever because I would wake up and I would say, how do I want to make money today? Right? I used to do sales calls in my business and I didn't like doing them. And what I realized is I was like, okay, I don't like doing sales calls. What's another way that lights me up? And that was selling the DMs. And actually, recently, I love being transparent. I tried sales calls again. I hated them. And I went back to selling the DMs again. Your body knows exactly what aligned action you should be taking, right? So I did this with everything in my business. I took the easiest aligned action. I hate making sales pages, right? And so instead, I decided to sell on my stories. And that's how I made money. And so there's always another aligned action you could be taking. And for me, the easiest action actually breeds the best results because that's how you stay consistent. And so from this whole fitness and health journey, I gained confidence because of the affirmations that I was saying in the mirror. I love my body at any weight, but I'm really happy with where I got to because I did it in a healthy way. I lost the weight. I feel amazing. I feel better than I ever have. And I learned that life gets to be easy. You get to do things in the easiest way possible, and you get to take that aligned action. And just because it's easy doesn't mean it doesn't work. Actually, when it's the easiest, breeds the best results. And so that's kind of how I lost weight. I gained self love, I became this new version of myself, and I got rid of the paradigm that you need to work harder in order to succeed. And I've done this with everything. I did this with my skincare. I decided, I was going to start affirming that I have the best skin ever. And from that, TikTok, I found skin cycling, and then, my skin cleared up. And so I want you to just ask yourself, where are you struggling in your life? Where can you manifest a new outcome and then take the action towards that? And like I said, the action doesn't have to be hard. For me, it never is. It's usually the most aligned, easiest action that there is. You just need to take it. So I love that. I love you guys. I love this. I love you guys. I hope this helped. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. And if you did, message me. Tell me too if you're going to read the book Intuitive Eating, what you're going to do, how this changed your life. But I love you. I wish I listened to an episode like this sooner. And thank you for coming to the Can't Stop Talking podcast. So yeah, go to the show notes and follow me on Instagram. I'd love connecting with you guys. And that's all for today. Bye, my loves.